Hey, Cussinarians. Y'all forgive me here. I'm looking a little rough today. But we're going to get started on the next part 2 of doing this Pixel Quilt of Jonah. You have ordered your pattern and your fabric. You've prepared your fabric. Here's all my fabric starched and ironed right here, except for one. I got one over there. I'm going to show you how to cut in a minute. But I want you to get your boards out and get out your storage containers. One of these days, I'm going to have one size and one style of storage containers, but this is what I have right now. There's 14 containers out here, one for each fabric. I am going to save these big compartmentalized ones for the fabrics that have the most different sizes. That way I can separate them in there. And then the ones that just have like 2 or 3 sizes, I'll save for these, but we'll get to that in a little while. Get all that out and let's go over there and start talking about other stuff. First, I want to go over the tools that I am using. A lot of the sizes in the patterns are 4.5, 2.5. This is a 2.5 inch long, about 15-inch ruler. And this is a 2.5 by 8 inch. And we'll be cutting a lot of 1.5 by 1.5. And this is the size of the finished block. This is an 8.5 inch ruler. Okay. I don't know how many of these we'll use, but might need some of these little clips. And I have already made my tags. In your pattern, let me find it here. In your pattern where it shows you what sizes to cut of which fabric, I have made a little tag for each one of these. This down here that says total number of pixels, this is for if you're using the grid. So in this video, we are not using that, so don't pay attention to any of those. So I've made a tag, A mushroom 4.5 by 2.5. And for the next one, and so on and so on. This is just scrap paper that I've used. And I made one for each one of these. Every color. All of these. So let me put these out of the way. And then we'll talk about these boards. We talked about those in part 1. You want to have these ready. You need 9 of these. Or a manila envelope. Whatever you want to lay out your block on. All right, and this is the first piece of fabric. That's fabric A, mushroom. And we wrote it in permanent ink on there, so when we wash it, it doesn't come out. All right, we went over that in part 1 also. The really important step, you see me? Important step. You need to test your 1/4 inch. Now, it's really weird, but I have a 1/4 inch foot here. Whenever I use this, my block is too small. I don't know why. But anyway, I just follow the edge of my presser foot. I have a 1/4 inch setting that I put that on first. And then for a scant, I move the needle 1 click to the right. What you want to do is cut 9 1.5 by 1.5 inch squares. And the reason why I say that is because in your pattern, you have 9 pixels across. This is 1 pixel according to your pattern. This is 1 pixel and each block is 9 pixels. If you have never worked with small pieces before, this will be interesting to you. If you have 2 pieces, 2 big blocks to put together, you only have 1 seam in between those 2 blocks. You can be off a little bit and it's not going to affect the size very much. But if you're off a little bit on 8 seams, because you're going to have 8 seams in these 9 pieces, if you're off the same amount in 8 seams, that adds up a lot. So you want to test your 1/4 inch seam with 9 pieces. Just do what I say. Okay, just do what I say. And then at the end, we're going to measure it. And we're going to see what I come out with. I have not done it. This is like real life here. Every time I start one, I do it. Make sure I got some bobbin thread in there. All right, here we go. And when you're done with this, you'll know if your 1/4 inch is too big or too small or right on the money. Where my nippers are. It doesn't matter which way you press them, just finger press them open for now. And then we're gonna put them end to end. Okay, so we've sewn our 8 1.5 by 1.5 inch pieces together. 8 pieces, not 9. All right, and this is supposed to measure 8.5 inches. So let's measure. That's 8.5 right there. I'm thinking that's the mark, but it's right. This was not on my 1/4 inch setting on my machine. It was a scant 1/4 inch for me. I make my needle go 1 click to the right. Now, if you come up with something that's too big, then your 1/4 inch is too small. If you come up with something that's less than 8.5 inches, then your 1/4 inch is too big. So adjust accordingly. All right, y'all. So we're gonna talk about cutting and the most efficient use of your fabric. There's a cutting diagram in the back of your pattern. All the way at the back of your pattern, there's a cutting diagram for each color. I never pay attention to this because I always have extras. This will give you kind of a guideline on how to cut here, but I'm going to show you what I do. Okay, so we're going to work on mushroom first. Look at this first number and the second number. They always have the biggest dimension at the top, and then they go down all the way to the 1.5 by 1.5. You only have one piece here. If I had to cut 10 of these, I would cut a 4.5 inch strip, but I only have one. So the small dimension is 2.5. Now, how much more 2.5 stuff do I have? I have 11 pieces that are 2.5 by 2.5, 87 pieces by 2 by 1. So what I would do, what would make sense to me, is cut 2.5 inch strips, and I can still get that 4 by 2.5, and this 9 4 by 1s, and then I can still get all of these out of there, and then I'll have to cut 1.5 inch strips. I forgot to tell y'all about this strip cutter here. This is shape cut thing. It's the poor man's stripology ruler. Very cheap. Some people don't like it because it's a little flimsy. I usually only use it for my 2.5 inch cuts and my 1.5 inch cuts. Everything else, it just depends on how I'm feeling that day. But you do want to kind of stick with one brand of ruler because there can be a difference. But, if you want to use different ones, then kind of compare them to see if they are consistent. What I'm going to do is cut a bunch of 2.5 inch strips for you, and I'll do it the long way. I won't use my strip cutter. And I like to back cut. We're going to cut just one color today, and then you'll get the idea. My first size, like I said, we're going to do 2.5 inch strips. And you will see me cutting towards myself and all that. Just please don't get your panties in a wad. I'm going to square up. I have a new blade in my cutter. This is a 6-inch wide ruler, so I can back cut 2 times with my 5 and 2.5. So let's do that. And when you're cutting for beginners, you want your line on the fabric, not to the left of the fabric. You want it on the edge of your fabric, on top of the fabric, not over this way. All right. And be consistent with that. So this is going to be 5 inches. And I'll leave the fabric there and move over to 2.5 inches. And you want to take your time when you're cutting. For me to cut all 14 of these fabrics usually takes me 3 days. Now, look up here, y'all. I know I'm doing a lot of talking. And you feeling like, oh my God, this is way too much prep for me. This is what I do. This is what I'm a very, very organized person, and I work with large numbers every day, and I have to make sure that things come in at the right time, go out at the right time for my job. So I'm very anal about organization. But the more organized you are, the easier it is. Once you get everything cut up, then you're going to be whizzing along. I'm just giving you tips to make this an easy ride. And I've done 5 of these already, and I've made all the mistakes for you. So just kind of, just kind of hang in there with me. So I don't know how many 2.5-inch strips I'm going to need, but I don't want to overcut. So I'm just going to do like 3, and then I'm going to cut what I need from that and see how much more I need to cut. But if I can do this, so can you. It is not hard at all, just takes organization. And also, right here where I have the name of the fabric, I'm cutting on the opposite end, so I don't have to lose my words in there. I'm not pushing hard enough here. So I'm going to put this up for now. And then I can either stack these or put them like this and use my strip ruler, or I can use this ruler, or I can use this 2.5, or I can use this 2.5 on each one. It's you decide what you want to do. But the first thing I'm going to do is cut that 4.5 by 2.5 inch piece that I need. And I only need one. So I'm going to open this up. And you do want to be as accurate as you can. And I may seem like I'm kind of fumbly around, but this is the first time I've cut in a long time. So for one of these, I'll go quicker as I go. Don't forget to not put your selvage in there. Don't put that in there. Make sure everything's kind of square. You don't have to take as though, I'm just being extra careful because I'm on camera and I'm nervous, but I usually go pretty quick. There's my 4.5 by 2.5 inch thingy. So I'm going to take this and just sit it over here. And you can put one of these on if you want or not. Okay. So that 4.5 by 1.5, we're going to save that for when we cut our 1.5 inch strips. So now I need 11 2.5 by 2.5s. Fold this back up so I can cut a bunch of them at one time. This is one of the reasons I had y'all fold up to, not up to here, but to down here, so you wouldn't have to refold it. And this was just a lot. So I'm going to take these. You cut however's easiest for you. Okay? And then I'm just going to go on top of here. I know some of that's going to get cut off at the bottom. Oh well. And don't throw away your scraps until you get down to your 1.5 inch pieces because you might save some fabric and get that out of there and out of those little pieces. But these are too small. You can save them for something else if you want to. Okay, so this is folded in 4. So that's going to be 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's how many we needed. So I'm going to take this and clip it to here and until we put it into our little containers. All right. Then we need 2.5s, about 1.5. So now we need 87 of those. So, and make sure if you're using a ruler with the half on the edge, make sure you don't turn it around this way and then mess it up. So you know how that goes. That's going to be 4. And then if you want to use these, you can. I usually have my iron over here. And I will use these if that crease is not too jacked up. It's just up to you. And we got 2.5 inch strips. And we want 2.5 by 1.5. So that's what we're going to do. I think I need to, I can leave it this way. Just cut this off here. And this will be 4, 8 right here. So what I usually do is put them in stacks of 4. Try to keep it as square as you can. You see why this takes 3 days if you're being very careful, which you do want to be very careful. It'll make your sewing so much easier. If you start to get frustrated, stop and come back later. Take a break. If I make a mistake more than 3 times in a row, I get up and walk away. I really should have back cut right here, then my fabric wouldn't be moving so much. All right, let's see what we got so far. We're going to use these 2 pieces too. I usually do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That way I know that's 20. 40. And then like that. And keep this 2 over here. And usually when you open up these fold pieces, they won't line up. So you need to cut a straight edge for both of them, for both edges, so your piece stays square. So we've used up our strips. Now we need to cut more strips. After a while, you learn how many of a certain size piece you can get out of a strip, and then you won't have to keep going back and forth so many times. Okay, this time we're going to do the stripology deal, and this is much faster. Make sure you're square here. This line and your fold line up here, which is right here, should be both straight before you start cutting. All right, we're doing 1.5. So 3, 6, 7.5, 9. Well, I don't need that many probably. Okay, let's just do 6. 6. Wait a minute. What's 6 minus 1.5? 4.5. Maybe I'm doing this wrong. 4.5, 3, 1.5. That's right. Usually I cut from the other side. I do kind of know what I'm doing, y'all. A little bit. All right. Then you turn this way. And I usually don't make this big of a mess, but I'm nervous cutting in front of y'all. Put your 0 right after the fold, because you're going to have to square up over here. Let's see where we at. 0. Okay, what are we cutting? 1.5. Always double check because I have messed up a lot of fabric, y'all. Okay? 1.5. 3. And we're just going to go to 4.5. I think that might be enough. And I screwed up, but it can be salvaged. I'm supposed to be cutting 2.5 because these are 1.5 inch strips. So I'm supposed to be cutting 2.5 by 1.5. But I do need a crap ton of 1.5 by 1.5. That's why I say pay attention. See, I'm already messing up. So these are 1.5 inch pieces. And we're going to need like 100 and something of those. So we'll salvage. That'll be less we have to mess with later. Let's get these over out the way. Dang. Y'all look out and cuss right there. Because if we weren't on camera. Okay, so now we're going to cut 2.5. You see how easy that was to mess that up? That's why I don't like using this so much. Because it makes me dumb. Alright. On 0 here, 2.5 is what I need. 2.5 and 5. Right. And these can be 1.5s if you want to take the time to open them up and press them and then cut them. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Man, that was 2, 4, 6, 8. And we need 87. So we have extras. This is 84. 5, 6, 7, 8. Just go ahead and leave those extras in there. Okay? Because you might mess up later and have to remake a block, and then you won't have to cut any. Alright, so I'm going to make these 1.5s. And that's going to waste a little bit of fabric, but it's alright. So our 87 pieces are done. And one of the benefits I talked about earlier in starching is you can stack these like cards. And if you haven't cut very well, you can tell right away. So they all look pretty good. We're going to put this with this and set that aside. And we need a whole bunch of 1.5 inch strips. And we'll get our 9 4.5 by 1.5 inches out of that. All right, I'm going to use this time so I don't screw up. 1.5 inch strips is what I'm cutting. 6, 4.5, 3, 1.5. We're going to do another set because I'm pretty sure we'll need it. All of those. All right. Let's get our 9 4.5 inch strips first, and then we'll worry about these. And I have a 4.5 inch ruler, so I'm going to use that. It's 8. This is not 1.5, I don't think. Nope. Can't do nothing with that. I don't keep it. If it's less than 1.5, I'm chunking it. Y'all, do what you feel. We just need one more. If you want to cut an extra, if you have an extra piece left over, go for it. All right, now we need 216 1.5 inch pieces. That's a lot just to get this one, and then I'll use a longer ruler to do the rest of them. Each one of these is 3. I'd have to open that up. That's 20, 40, 60, and we probably have more than we need here. See, I'm getting a little faster now, getting more comfortable, so I'm going to open up these and use these. Ooh, that's crooked as hell. 100, 20, 40, 192. Where in the hell was I? My math. 48, 152 is what we have. Oh, by the way, this is an endurance blade, if you know what that is. Okay, that's 200. We need 16. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 216 right there. I'm gonna put another swap in there. And then I just keep this for my little pile. I have a pile for scraps that I am going to use. Like these are left over from last time. And we are done with the first fabric. I don't know how long that took, but it won't take that long, y'all. You be in the privacy of your own sewing room without people watching you. So, Scooter, we're going to go over here next to our little containers. Okay, so we only have 5 sizes and they don't take up very much room. So I'm going to use one of these medium ones. It's too much for this. So I'm going to use this. And you can stack them up nice if you want to. By the time you're done, they're going to be all over the place. So I wouldn't worry about stacking them up all nice right now. And I just throw this on top. Okay. And I move that into the A position. Number 1. Okay, so you're going to do that with each one of your 14 fabrics and put them in your containers with their labels. And then after we've done that, we're going to come back and look at our pattern and I'll show you how to load up your little boards before we sew. And then we're going to talk about to glue your pieces or not to glue them before you sew them, how to group them before you sew them, and how to press your seams, which way, decide which way you want to press your seams. And I'll show you the way I do it. That makes it a little bit more easy to deal with. Don't stress, everybody. Now, if you get worked up and you start making mistakes on your fabric and all that, go watch Game of Thrones or Schitt's Creek or whatever you want to watch, and then come back and do some more. I'm going to spend the next couple of days cutting fabric, so I'll be ready for you. We finally got all those 3,884 pieces cut, and we are ready to put the boards together and discuss how to put the pieces together. Here we go. All right, so read through your whole pattern. There's a lot to read, but there's good information in there. I just want to hop to how to put your pieces together before we put the boards together. This is the completed block here. I've marked it up how I would put it together. You decide how you want to put it together. This is how she would do it in blocks like this. But I have a technique that I'll show you that enables you to chain piece a little bit. The way I do it is I put it together in rows this way. Now, I admit that it is a little bit harder to keep things square if you do it this way, but it's not impossible. We'll get to this when we start to sew in just a second. But for now, we're going to go over and put together a couple of boards before we sew. Okay, so the first one is A1. How you read this is piece A, 2.5 by 1.5 is the first piece that you need. Okay, there are no sizes on this pattern. You have to figure it out yourself. Each section, see this little thingy here? From here to here is 2 pixels. So your whole block is 2.5 by 8.5. So it's 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, and the same way this way. So this would be 2.5 pixels by 1.5 pixels because it's halfway in these. This would be 1.5 by 1.5. Same with this one, this one, this one. This one would be 1.5 by 2.5. Okay. Down in here, this would be 2.5 by 2.5 inch piece. Same with that one. First piece we're going to need is an A color, 1.5 by 2.5. We go over here to our little stash. This one. And we're going to lay it exactly how it is in the pattern. Okay, we need a C over here, 1.5 by 2.5. And I have all of my parts, pieces laid out here in order. A, B, C, D, E, and on down, and it wraps around here. Okay, we need a C, 1.5 by 1.5. And it takes me about maybe 30, 40 minutes, maybe 40 minutes to get through all 9 of these. This, and it starts to go pretty fast after a while. Okay, let me see if I did that right. C, A, C, F, E, E, B. Get it all over here, right? Sort of fit. And that's our first kind of row, as I call it. That's our first row. And you just keep going. Now, when you sit down to sew, at each stage, as you go, you check for accuracy at each step. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, that's our first board. Now this looks fishy, so I'm going to make sure I got that right. B, D, E. Okay, yeah, that's right. Once I get them all on the board, see, nothing falls off. They stick pretty good. Now don't shake, but it does stick pretty good. And then what I do is I take this one and I put it on the bottom, and I move on to the next one, but I cross this one out. So I'm not making another board exactly like that one. That has happened, by the way. D, B. See, I already started looking over there at that one. That's it. That is a 4.5 by 2.5. So you got a half there. Well, not a half. You got a 1, a 1, and a 2. So that's 4. Let me find that piece in here. And I'm going to need 2 of those, 3 of those, so I might as well get them out. Let's go down there. B. And this little piece right here is 4.5 by 1.5. All right. Now I'm not sure how long that took, but we got 2 boards done already. And I would put this one under here and move on to the next one, but I'm not going to bore you with that whole thing. So we're going to go back over here to the sewing machine, and we're going to talk about putting these together. So on mine, when I move this top stack down to the bottom, I always look under here because sometimes parts stick to here. Just a reminder if you do it this way. I am going to press all the seams that go horizontally. I'm going to press them in this block. I'm going to press them all up. So that means this seam, this seam, this seam, this seam, these, right? The next block down. In the inside of the block, it really doesn't matter how you press them. What matters is these ones on the side. When you hook them to these, you want them to nest. So this next one, it will go up, down, up, down. And I mark on this pattern so I don't have to think about it so much. Okay, and then these seams on the bottom, you want the same thing to happen. When you hook this one to this one, I'm sorry, they'll all be in a row like this. So this whole row will be this way on the bottoms, if you can. It is not the end of the world if you can't, okay? So we're going to do that. I just remind myself by putting this up here. You can also put it up here. And on the next row, this row, everything will be going like this. Okay, but I always start out with this arrow going up, this one down, up, down, and so on. And then on this row, they will go this way. Okay. Next thing to discuss before we sew. I promise this is the last thing before we sew. To glue or not to glue. All right. I use this glue. You can use any glue you want. This all washes out. It's repositionable if you make a mistake. Roxanne glue based it. I don't always glue, but I will do this first one for you guys just to show you how I do it. So I'm going to be putting these two together. You put it inside the seam allowance. I'm going to be putting those two together. Then do I want to put these three together and these three together, or this one? I'll just do it on the side here. And if you have one that's long like this, you can do both sides at one time. Now this does take longer a little bit, but when you go to sew, it's pretty quick. Okay, and then these will be these two, and these two, and then these two. Oops. And I go through and I do the whole block how I'm going to put it together. So here, and you don't need a lot of glue. And at the end, when I'm done gluing it, I hit it with the iron like 2 seconds. That's all you need. I'm going to do these two. And then that one will just hang out for the next round. And then that one will hang out to the next round because you have nothing to glue it to. Here, these two, that one will hang out. Do these two, and these two. And instead of doing, well, no, I'll do these two and these two. Or I could do these two and these two. All right. And it takes a good while for this to clog up. So, and even if it does, you can unclog it. Okay, so what I do, I go through like 2 seconds. I hit, and the good thing about these These boards, you can iron on them. All right. Okay, from your vantage point, this is the bottom, but it's the top for me. And I have the pattern right here facing me. The words are facing me. This is as close as you're going to get to chain piecing. So what I do is I pick up this one and make sure you are sewing on the side that is glued. Ask me how I know. Okay, and I'm going to go up top here and then here. So I'm picking up this, and I have two sides to sew on this. So, and my glue is a little crooked. See how easy that came off? So don't worry about that. I'm gonna just do one side now. You can do both if you want. We switch vantage points for you. Okay, these two are already sewed, but I'll pick them up and redo them. All right. You pick them up in order. Now that you have to remember, that side has two seams glued together. Now I'm going down to the next row, pick them up just like this, and come right over here like this. This is the side that's glued. This one, sometimes I open them up to make sure it's glued. Now, if you can see this, I got it on here and it's not square. That's not cool because it probably won't cause a problem, but just try and keep it as square as you can. All right, and our last two pieces for this row. Now, you can take this row and take it off the machine and put it up here, or you can keep going. I'm going to keep going because it's a little bit faster. And you just keep picking it up like you have it glued. Okay, see, this one is glued at the top, so I want to turn it. Next, that one's just hanging out. That one's hanging out. This one's glued on this side over there. And this one is hanging out. Next row. These two. Hanging out. These two. Hanging out. These two. And we're able to go this fast because we glued the pieces and they're not going to come loose. All right, these are hanging out. Next one. Hanging out. Up and down. All right, we're done for the first round of sewing. You over here? Okay. When I take it off the machine, I'm going to leave it all just like this. And I need to sew this one because we had it glued on both sides. So I'm not going to take this bottom and flip it up here. I'm just going to flip this over so everything stays in order. And if you forget to do this, when you go to press everything, you'll find out that you didn't sew it. It's no big deal. Then you just sew it. All right, so I'm going to take this top here. Make sure you don't want to grab this bottom and flip everything around. Leave it like this. Come back over here. And I just let everything hang. And I cut off one piece at a time. Where are my nippers? Now this, I have my pattern here. You're going to refer to it. You're going to clip that loose. Okay. I say loose. That's just what I do. Okay. Now all of my seams that are up and down are going to go that way. And all of my seams that go this way are going to go up. Refer to our arrows. Okay. So this first row is going to go that way. And I just finger press and lay it back here. Make sure you open it up all the way. You don't want any tucks. Take the next piece. Looking at my pattern. Make sure you get it right. And the patterns are really good at giving you a sense of what color it is, kind of. See, this C, and A, and E. So if you had it this way, you could tell, oh, that's not right. Flip it back around. Okay. Our seams are going that way, to the right. Just finger press them and put them right back where they go. Go to the next one. And that's going to be this A and C right here. And these seams are going to go to the left because it's the second row here. So when you go to put this row and this row together, these seams will nest. All right. Next one, E and B. And our seams are going up. So we're going to press up. Now it looks like I have left out a piece here. A, C, F. I need an F there. I don't know if I moved it or forgot. All right, never mind. We don't need that F. I just was tripping. All right. And next one is a B and D. And as you're going through this, you're back and forth with your pattern, and you can head off mistakes that way. Okay, we're going to the right with our seam. And there we go. That's our first round of that row. Seams are going to be going that way because these are going that way. Next, AB is up and down like this. Our seams are going to be going up. That. Next. Okay. This is the next piece, and above it, there's no seam to connect to, so you can make it go any way you want. And E. And then that, and we're done with that one. Next one. We got this AC piece. We need, it's not connecting to anything, but I just keep with the way things are going. Right there. Next piece is this BD. And we'll go to the right. The way you press your seams is a constant negotiation, I would call it. Okay, so this is the next piece, and we do have a seam here, and we haven't sewn this piece yet. So if I make it go this way like all the other ones, I'll have to remember to do this that way. But it really doesn't matter. You are going to have some thick seams in here, and you're not going to be able to avoid it. You can press them open where it's going to be thick if you want, but if you glue, you cannot do that. All right, next we got AE, and that's going to be going left there. These are going to go right there. And our last little piece is going to be DE. D is the darker one. Go up. And if you're in doubt of which is which, this is a D, up here too, so you can always look at it and see. Okay, where is that? That's missing. Ah, see, we missed that. We didn't sew that. That's what I mean by always checking your pattern. That D right there is supposed to be like this, and we didn't sew it. So let me do that real quick and I'll come back. Now, if you are putting this together, now this is very important. If you are putting this together and on your pattern, you know this is a D and this is a D, but when you look over here, these are two different colors. You need to figure that out right now, because don't get way down in here and have these all put together and then have to go back and fix something, right? In the grand scheme of things, that one little pixel might not cause a problem. But if you have labeled this the wrong thing, then all of these pieces that you labeled wrong will be wrong in your whole pattern, and your whole pattern will be messed up. On my very first quilt, I labeled two fabrics wrong, and you could really tell it. And I had to take out 9 blocks and fix them after I had been 4 or 5 rows in. So that's a problem. If things are popping up all over the place, you can just go through here. And I do use steam. You can do that or not. And sometimes stuff ends up on the iron. So we'll just go through on the next round and do the same thing. Okay, so how are we going to put these parts together? Okay, next two, we need to put these two. If you're not gluing, just pick these up and put them together. It just depends what mood I'm in. All right, now you can either put these two together or these two together. I'm going to put these two here. And then these two. Then you can't do anything else. Go down here. And then these two. And I'll do these two. Now, if your 1/4 inch is crap, I don't know if I should say crap, but if it's crap, when you go to put these two pieces that are sewn to this piece that is not sewn, you'll see a difference. That's why your 1/4 inch is important. So these two fit together. And even though we have checked our 1/4 inch, my block might be too small when I get to the end. We'll see how it goes. It might be too big, too small. Even when you're careful. When we got 2 seams that meet up, we have pressed this way and this way. Now I don't need any pins. What I do is I put the seams together, and you can feel it, and I push this one that way so they butt up really nice. Just leave it like that. And those are the only 2 seams we've had to match up in this whole block so far. Yeah. 2 seconds or so. That's all you need. Cover up my glue. And I flip it around. Now I'm going to pick it up so we can chain piece again. This one. Now did I sew that correctly? I think I did. I'm going to leave it. Sometimes I sew on the wrong side. The side that's not glued. All right, we got this edge. How you feeling about it so far? Not too hard. Just a little organization. And after this first block, if you make it through the first block, you're gonna be a professional. Just trust me, y'all. It's not hard. The straight line sewing. Okay, nothing there. And it's just repetition. You're gonna take the top, come over here, let the rest of it hang. Cut the first piece off. And we are right in here. And you're kind of mentally checking, you know. Now you see that's off up there a little bit. That's inconsistencies in cutting. Don't worry about it so much. And do not square this to a 4.5 by 2.5. I'm a 1.5. Don't square it yet. You do too much squaring, your block will be too small. Okay, now my other seams are going to the left, so I'm going to do this one to the left and put it right back here. And each time, again, as you're putting stuff down, you're kind of checking for mistakes. And our seams are going up, remember? Now, if this were reversed and these two were on top and you were going to press where these seams were, it's okay. It'll be all right. Just press them. You decide how you want them pressed, is what I'm trying to say. If you can press toward the part that doesn't have a seam, then good. If you can't, oh well. All right, on this way. Now, so far, all of our seams that are on the edges are going up. It's just this one so far. It's going up. When we put this row to this row, we want to press this long seam. We want to press it up. And this one up and that one up. This is another one on the edge that's up. It's working out pretty good. All right, which way we want to go? We want our outside edges to go that way. Now, when we go to put this together, that seam right there and that seam are both going the same way. Now, you can decide if you want to change this one to go this way, but we want our seams to go this way so it'll connect up to the next row. It's just up to you which way you want to do it. I'm going to leave mine going that way. So we've made it through round 2. Let's knock these down a little. And it takes me normally with a block that has a whole lot of 1.5 by 1.5 inch pieces, it usually takes like 35 minutes. Like on a block like this, you know, it might take 5 minutes because you don't have very many pieces in it. And we've got an up and a down here, so that's good. Before you glue it together, check it out. Now that's a big section here, so we can do both sides at one time. And all these are solid fabrics, so right sides together is really not a thing. Put your seams together, smush them together, and glue. I haven't done one of these in a long time, so I'm getting back in the rhythm of doing it. Okay, we're gonna go up with this one. Smush these seams together right there. And sometimes your edges will be kind of off, but make sure the seams are matched. All right. See, it gets quicker and quicker each round because you have fewer and fewer sections to get together. All right. Back there. All right. Now we got both sides of this one, I think, right? Okay. Now make sure when you do this, don't sew this to this. You need to open it up a little bit. Okay. And then just flip this over. Make sure you're not sewing something that's all the way on the other side. Then we're going to go back to the top. Third verse, same as the first. Now this section, we got this dark down here. We want to make sure that's what we do. Our seams are going up on this row. And this is a bottom row, and we want all our seams to go this way, but they all won't nest if we do that. Make an executive decision and make them go the other way, because you got quite a few seams that are hooking up with these, so I'm going to make them nest. This row is done. This row is done. Just got one here. And we can do both sides at once here. Whoops. I made a boo-boo. I thought that was already done. So since I did that, I don't want this to dry before I hook this piece to it. So I'm just going to sew this one and then glue it. And our seams are going to the right. Don't worry about the ends at first. I hope y'all can see that. Can you see that? I'm getting to the seams. I'm pressing them, pushing them. And don't worry about the ends right now. You want to get the junctions together. Is that right? Junctions? I don't know what you call it. We got two sides here to sew. Yes. All right, so we're going to the right. And to the left. And you're constantly scanning back and forth. Make sure you got them right, so you don't do this and then be all pissed off once you got to sew them together. And we're going to sew this. And we want our seams going up. And I just push them hard. So make sure they're open and make sure no glue is keeping them from opening if you were a little too generous with your glue. All right, y'all, we got two more seams. Two! Now these two are going the same way. So what? Those are not. These two are going the same way. Now, if it seems like the ones that are going the same way, usually I'll slap a little pin in there. And those two are going the same way. I wasn't paying attention now. Okay. Sometimes I'll put a pin in there because it'll be off a little bit. And these they might be a little off, might not. If they are a little off, it will not make a difference in the final product. Let's see, what I am gonna do, take that loose a little bit. Match my ends up better. Now what I have done is have this together and sew this side, and when I open it up, it doesn't match my picture. So you have to take this seam out, well that seam, and sew it right. All the horizontal seams are going up. Let's see. Some of them are nesting and some of them aren't. But you see, I'm not stressing. Do not stress. This is not a quick quilt, you guys. You need to take your time. You'll get into a groove and it'll go faster than you think. And on the subject of backstitching, sometimes I backstitch, sometimes I don't. That's upside down. Now this is my final check to make sure I got the rows done right. Let's do a quickie. I'll just check the corners. You'll iron it. And then you might want to iron it better. Well, after a while, these boards, they kind of dip in the middle because it's cardboard and I'm using steam, so they bend a little bit. But they've been through 5 pixel quilts. All right, that's our first one. And you see, it's not exactly square. It's a little wonky. All these seams, if you don't have a little wonk, you are amazing. Okay, this is my 8.5 by 8.5 ruler. I'm going to put this on here. We did pretty good. All right, you want to make sure these are going through the seams here. And this center seam is 4 1/4. So I usually try to do that. That's kind of what it is right there. Now, if you got a whole lot on the outsides, you need to redo your 1/4 inch. And make another block, because when you go to, it'll be square, but when you go to put it to the next one, the seams are not going to match up. So if you have more than what I have here, you need to be checking. Make sure your 1/4 inch is okay. All right. And it's beautiful. Look at that. Now you got just 107 more to go. Move on to the next one. We don't have that in there, but just do this 107 more times. And what I do is I make sure I got it oriented the right way, and I slap it up here on my mini board. Thank you, Miles, for my mini board.
To the next episode. Iron them out.
My big board is behind the camera, and I put it up here. And then as I do them, when you get done with the next one, take this one down, make sure you got it oriented correctly, and sew it together. All right. That way you always know these are right. And when you get done with all 9, you'll have your first row. And then I take that first row over to my big board and put that up there. And as I go, I am sewing those rows together. Boom, done. So see, it's not that bad. You can do it. You can do it. You can pick a smaller, they have those little kits that are pixel kits. You might could find a cushion or something somewhere. Just do one of those little ones. Just practice if you want to. Or hey, dive head first into this. Bye. That's all I got for you.